Free socks.
The NHL playoff picture is still up in the air, but here in Winnipeg, fans are confident the arena will echo with the sound of white noise again.
Free socks.
Let's go! Go, Jets, go! Winnipeg is back in the big leagues and over the moon.
Welcome back to the landing strip presented by From Financial on a fantastic whiteout evening in Winnipeg with this snow that decided to come back in late March. And hey, the Winnipeg Jets looked whiteout ready in this one. A big 4-0 W in front of the hometown crowd in Brendan Dillon's return for the New Jersey Devils. Mikey, how you doing this evening, buddy?
Like you said, it's an early whiteout. I feel like Mother Nature was getting us ready for the playoff whiteout that's going to be coming up real soon. So, yeah, weird night outside, but real hot night inside the barn, it felt like. So I'm pretty happy with that one.
And before we get going, he came back. He made the appearance in arena. I almost shed a tear. Why don't we hit that sweet, sweet victory music on this Friday evening and get this show rolling?
Let's go.
He's back. Connor Hardebuck. Ooh. Going double through it, eh? Let's go. I was ready. Feels good. Mikey, where do you want to begin this one? What stands out to you, my guy?
Let's welcome back David Gustafsson. I know it wasn't the very first goal of the night, and we'll get to that very first one because it was a beauty. But let's welcome David Gustafsson back into the back into the lineup. I know it's at the expense of a guy that some of our chat loves, and I do too, Rasmus Kapari. But man, David Gustafsson really gives them a different look on that fourth line, and I feel like he should be in there all the time. And yeah, that goal tonight was real nice for him.
Definitely a guy I felt great for. He looked pretty pumped putting that one in, and I know you're a fan. He's my guilty pleasure as a depth player. I think we all believe in certain guys. I think we all have some guys, depth players that we really like. And for me, it's David Gustafsson. I mean, we've talked a lot lately about Alex Iafallo and him being that trusted winger you could throw out there. You know what to get out of him. I look at David Gustafsson the same way, and it was no surprise to see him jump back in and have a quality game. I see Ascended saying over on Twitch says, "You play him more and he will score. I believe in the Gus Bus." Yes, I believe in the Gus Bus. And yeah, it was great to see the Gus Bus get on the board early in that one, bang in that puck to make it a 2-0 game less than 2 minutes in.
Unreal.
Obviously, the first one comes from the top line. Mark Scheifele goes cross ice to Kyle Connor, who gets it on net, and Alex Iafallo, Johnny on the spot today with that first goal in the first minute. And we've talked a lot about slow starts with this team in this game, and this was not one of them, and it was kind of funny. I brought my mom for the first time. First time me and my mom have gone to a Jets game together. And less than 2 minutes into the game, she's turning to me and says, maybe this was the right one. She was pretty fired up. It was great to see. I think she was more social than I was tonight, running into a lot of people. So I had a great experience there. But yeah, I like starting with Gus Bus, who's a guy I continue to believe is a quality player in this league. I was in a group chat with some buddies talking about Gus this week, and I truly believe that's a guy that's going to put up like 300-400 games in this league and just quietly. So you know what? I like you starting there, Mikey.
Can't remember who it was, but they called Gus Bus the Swedish light version of Adam Lowry. And I kind of like that comparison, very kind of similar style in terms of their overall stature, their gameplay. And yeah, you're right. He's a guy that very quietly could go out and play those big games. So it was good to see him out there. It was a nice night for him.
You know what also was great to see?
Hit me.
Mark Scheifele looking back. That is the best version of Mark Scheifele I've seen in a while. His playmaking was on point. He was driving his body through defensive plays rather than skating over. I mean, a defensive effort leads to his goal with that stick in the neutral zone and skating through it. He's a big, strong, physical guy. Goes the other way, gives it to Connor, and keeps driving that net. I thought Mark Scheifele was in high-end playmaker mode, and he obviously adds a goal on this one. He doesn't get an assist on that first power play goal from Iafallo as Nick Ehlers pokes over the rebound right to him.
Yep.
But Mark Scheifele starts that whole playoff really waiting for Josh Morrissey to open up for the big shot. This was a game, and this is the version of Mark Scheifele that looks like a number one center in this league, and it was really nice to see that guy come out tonight.
Yeah, snaps a 9-game goalless drought. Just an all-around good night for Mark Scheifele. The offensive piece that you really want to see going into the playoffs, right? That's the level of play that we're hoping for. And we've generally seen it from Scheifele in the big games, right? When it's a big opponent on a weekend, these type of things where all eyes are on the Jets. This year specifically, the team overall has been good, and Scheifele specifically as well. He's gotten up for those big games. And the playoffs are all going to be big games, right? So I'm hoping we get to see this Scheifele night in, night out.
And are we going to get a little bit of a bump in Kyle Connor? Dad strength coming for
Right.
Mr. 81. Congrats to Kyle Connor and his family on the birth of a baby girl. And actually, this is somewhere I want to go, and I don't want to forget it today. The Winnipeg Jets and how they really treat players and their situations off the ice, I think is something to be proud of and something this org's really doing well. We saw, obviously, no doubt about it, they'd give Kyle Connor a day off to be at the birth of his daughter. But this Luke Shen thing, and when they have 2 days off, letting him go spend a day in Nashville with his family, we talked about how intense that travel schedule and getting traded twice within a week was for him. And he kind of opened up about that today and said it was actually Chevy and Arneal's ideal. So I want to give credit to the Jets there before we dive too much into the game. That's the kind of good vibes, good team, take care of your own stuff you like to see. And I just want to make sure we get to that today.
Yeah, if you want to put the reputation out there that you're an organization that cares about the personal side of the players' lives and that are willing to make those type of accommodations, right? That's how you do it. You do it with those type of guys so that they go out there and they talk to the other guys, and maybe players are more willing to come because they say, hey, this is a team that will actually give a shit about me. So yeah, it's great to see. You love when the guys get to add to their families like this and then go out and have a real good night.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I wanted to make sure because I meant to get there last show, and then we saw it again this week. So that was good to see. Jeff Cabeals, I see you in the chat saying, great seeing you tonight, Nick. And it was great to see Jeff. Always nice to see Cabeals around the rink or at a good event in the city. Really appreciate to see you, my man. And speaking of Luke Shen, actually, leaves today's game number 4 in all-time NHL hits, and he makes sure to add a big one on Andre Palat in the last 10 minutes of the third. A better game, I thought, from Luke Shen compared to that Washington game.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice bounce back for Shen. Increases his or gets his spot there in the NHL history books. And just a nice bounce back game, much more calm, much more in place of what you want to see from Shen. I noticed they kind of tinkered with the pairings for a few minutes at the end of end of the second, beginning of the third, but then they quickly jumped back to the original pairings. But yeah, it was interesting though. He also played, I think, the fewest minutes 5-on-5 tonight, which was kind of interesting the way that the minutes ended up panning out with the big lead, right? You're getting to spread it out a little more evenly. But it was interesting that, yeah, Shen ended up with the fewest 5-on-5 minutes.
I like that given his age and his minutes. And
Yeah.
he was even talking about the hecticness of jumping on flights, getting to spend 24 hours with his fam and coming back. I think that's a good way to use those minutes in a game like tonight.
Agree.
Another guy I wanted to shout out. I thought this was a really nice night from Dylan DeMello. Obviously takes that late penalty and everyone's kind of squeezing onto their seats to make sure Connor Hellebuyck gets another shutout in this one. We saw a big hit from him on Dawson Mercer, take him out of the game for a little bit. And I thought he was really sound in this one at making the stops at the blue line or just after and turning the puck up the other way. In the first period, he almost sets up Mark Scheifele on the back door to make it 3-0 in a hurry. Really nice game from Smoke, who was quite disappointed about none of his teammates picking him as their emergency contact this week, if you got to see that content. So I'm just here to say, I think Smoke, based on everything I've seen from him, he'd be up there in my emergency contacts. What about you?
Absolutely, especially after a game like tonight. He'll be there to clean up any mess that you've made. So, yeah, he took that one. It's Michael Jordan meme, right? He took that one personally tonight.
He definitely was taking that one personally. You saw a man reflecting on why the hell was I not the pick? What have I done wrong here?
What did I do?
Always funny to see him. Speaking of cleaning up messes, Lucas Trapp says, "Did Nick get a jet dog tonight?" I did not. We're sticking firm. We're motivated. We got things to take care of here, Lucas, and I did not cave on a Jets dog in this one. And you know what I like to see? Speaking of not caving, I see Kevin Kowalik says it over on YouTube. Broke the Devils back early and never took their foot off the gas. And I like to see that from the Jets today, where in 2 minutes into the game, they got Jake Allen rolling, who did not look ready to play on either of those goals. Talk about oversliding that way. And this was a night where I saw on Twitch, I believe it was D-Labs was asking about how electric the building. It was another great vibe in there. And right after that second goal gets in, you get the entire crowd doing the Allen. So it was good to see them start quick. I know it's been a concern that we talk about quite often. And it was great to see them not take their foot off the gas. This was Connor Hellebuyck's 42nd win out of a team 50. His 7th shutout, but another shutout where I thought he made some big saves, but the Winnipeg Jets defensively made sure that this was not a tough night for him despite the difference on the shot clock. I thought the Jets were far more dangerous with their scoring opportunities.
Yeah, the Devils were missing some key personnel tonight, and it definitely showed in the quality of chances that were coming at Connor Hellebuyck. They and the Jets, yeah, like you said, they made it easy on him tonight. He gets the 7 shutouts, leads the league in shutouts. He's now tied for second all-time in shutouts by an American goalie, and he's now got the franchise record for most shutouts in a season. So he keeps adding to the list of accomplishments and the list of records this year.
Let's add one more. Choices TK over on Twitch from Sportsnet. Hellebuyck leads in wins, 42. Goals against average, 202. Save percentage, 925. Shutouts, 7. Only 2 goalies in history have owned the outright lead in all 4 categories in a season. Jacques Plante, all the way back in 58, 59. And Bernie Perrant, all the way in 73, 74.
Hell yeah, Bernie.
Nice touch to them. Both went on to win the Stanley Cup.
Yes, sir.
And I got to say, it was one of those nights where in the 300s, the people were trying to get a "We want the cup" chant. That building was feeling it. There was also an MVP chant
The
for
MVP
Hellebuyck
chant
after.
was on TV. That was good. It made it its way through.
Right after that penalty kill, or as that penalty kill expired, you got the MVP chant, which was great to see. And Greg Zamzel points out, nice to see sellouts getting stacked. Helps increase the likelihood Jets remain a cap team or don't waste cap space at the next deadline. And it is something I have wondered about played into how this deadline played out.
Yeah, I mentioned it on the show after the deadline that, I thought it was maybe a taboo thing to say, but I thought that might have creeped into a little bit of the planning of the deadline coming up, right? That they hadn't seen a lot of sellouts, and they were maybe wondering if it was right time to start spending as much on salary as they could have. We've now got 4 straight home sellouts in a row, 12 on the season. It's nice momentum building up to the playoffs, and yeah, hopefully that if there was any doubts in management or in ownership's mind about spending, hopefully this run will help ease those.
Speaking of the deadline, Brandon Tanev with the start in this game picks up that errant Brett Pesce pass, and the fourth line goes to work on that Gus goal. Another nice night for Turbo, throwing a bit of the body. That fourth line was a factor in this one, obviously getting that early goal. Good to see there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That fourth line continues to impress. Tanev he's rolled the clock back. Apparently, it is 2017 again, and he's just flying down there. So it's a good, like I said a few times already, that fourth line is probably the best one in the NHL right now. They're flying, man.
Couple takeaways on YouTube here. Turd Ferguson says Dylan talked at morning skate about him telling the Devils they need to survive the first 5 minutes in that building. They did not survive, as it turns out. So Brendan Dillon had the scouting report, and it was nice to see him get a nice round of applause on his way back. I will always have a soft spot for old Dilly.
Oh yeah.
And I thought he was pretty solid in this one too. Yep. He was the guy I remembered him to be. So nice to see there. Greg Zamza also asks, was the Scheifele goal a set play? And I think it was Darren Bombing had suggested that he thought that was a pass. What did you think of that takeaway?
No, I definitely don't think it was a set play. The Turd Ferguson even points out that when they asked Arniel about it in the post game, he laughed at the idea that was planned out. So no, it's going forward. Hey, if you want to try that out now, now we've got a starting point. They can start practicing that one, but no, I don't think it was.
Yeah, I think Kyle Connor was trying to shoot short side there, and it just got the great bounce as a clicking as Scheifele drove to net to finish it off.
Yeah.
Over on Twitch, Zooch40 says, how do you change the lines back after these last few games? These are playoff lines. And the one takeaway I was getting on Twitter in the DMs, and I completely agree with, and I think this is something you want to see from this team in these games, is all those goals were what you would consider playoff goals, right? Getting to the hard areas, banging in rebounds. We were talking about the last game against Washington, how it felt like the Jets could have really taken it to them in that game, given how many rebounds Logan Thompson was letting out.
Yeah.
It felt like a game where the Jets were all over that area of the ice in nothing but the best ways. Even on the second Iafallo goal, Nick Ehlers simply poking that rebound to a guy that was more dangerous in that spot. Third period, Jake Allen makes some big saves in that net front. I thought this was a really good example of what you need to do to score in the playoffs, and it was nice to see the Jets put up 4 goals like that on a night like tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. That's, like you said, those are playoff style goals. They feel like playoff style lines. However, I'm gonna throw some cold water on the idea real quick, Zooch 40. The way that you change it after these few games, even with the results, is because that's what they've done for the last 73 games before this. If we start the playoffs in a month or Stunder, whatever it is from now, with a fully healthy lineup, they're going to be going right back to those initial lines that we've seen for the whole year. That is the MO from this coaching staff. That's what they've told us right from Jump Street. So I would like to see Lowry stay up with Ehlers specifically. You can.
I think it's happening.
Oh God, I hope you're right. I'm gonna say you're probably wrong, but I'm gonna hope that you're right. But I'm guessing Lowry still ends up back with Nino and Appleton on their quote unquote shutdown line, with Ehlers and Perfetti on that second. But I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm going by what our past, if past performance is any indicator of future.
I continue to absolutely love the idea of Nick Ehlers with Adam Lowry, and I thought it was on display tonight. Just how much room Lowry makes for Ehlers, and we saw Ehlers really using that speed to dance again tonight. That edge work he has that one play where he skates the circle around the entire O-zone, and out of nowhere cuts on a dime to the middle, puts on a dangerous shot, and Adam Lowry all over it in the rebound of Jake Allen makes a save. But I really do like how that line has opened things up for Nick Ehlers to do what he's at his best. I really do think Adam Lowry brings that out of him. And then I do really like the look of Nino and Perfetti and what that can mean in a third line as they get a bit more time together. And I'll say this, I am optimistic about it because the switch in the middle six happened before the Velarde injury and they stuck with it with the injury. I think they've gotten some realizations on the middle six. I expect Velarde to take Iafallo on that wing spot and Iafallo to go back to the fourth line, which would a treat to have Alex Iafallo again in your depth. I would like to see him in that Appleton spot, so to speak.
Agreed.
But I do think this middle six is going to stick, and I do think it makes the Winnipeg Jets a deeper, tougher team to play against, and I'm really starting to buy it.
Yeah, like I said, I like the look much better, especially getting Lowry and Ehlers those minutes together. Whoever you want to put as the other winger, we can kind of, debate from there, but that should be the starting point. That should be the pair that you're building off of for that second line. But man, I look at what Arneal's done at every opportunity this year with a healthy lineup, and I go, hard to see the change now, but like I said, I hope I'm wrong.
Glizzy water soup with my nipples are erect thinking about 27-7-13, and there's an interesting shift that we have not seen. There's a look. But no, it's a great problem to have when you lose a guy like Gabe Velarde, who we talked about. He's been a valuable piece to this whole thing, especially on the power play. Doesn't matter on this night. Seeing Iafallo, we talked last game where I thought Scheif and Connor struggled, but Iafallo was the best player on that line when Ethan KPM called in, and I see he's back in the chat. Nice to see you, Ethan. Just some good problems to sort out for the coaching staff, and I gotta say, I think this middle six is gonna relatively stay intact when Velarde's back. I really do this time.
I'm hoping so, because it really gives them an offensive look in the top six version that you just don't have with Vlad there. Which again, no shade to Vlad, he plays his role extremely well. It's just Lowry and Ehlers have a real special connection, and it works so much better in my opinion. But I'm worried, man. I'm worried.
T. Kona Paulie is jumping into the chat. He's a little choked. He didn't get no notifications. You got to figure out what's going on, T. Kona. We can't be losing. Yeah, and I'm going to take this time to let you guys know. We've been working with T. Kona Paulie on getting a watch party set up, and it's a big game. April 10th versus the Dallas Stars at Dallas Restaurant in Transcona. We're looking to get a crowd there to watch the Winnipeg Jets versus the Dallas Stars as a group, get some people out into the community. And then we're looking at doing a live show from the lounge that night. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure to send me a DM or shoot us an email at toplinemedia@gmail.com, and I'll get you on a list. We got limited capacity, and we're sorting that out. I know me and Mikey were going to go down there yesterday to start planning, and then this snowstorm hit, so we're going there Tuesday so we can kind of get things sorted out. But that is the plan, tentatively. I think we're locked in. But something to keep in mind here if you want to get together and enjoy a Winnipeg Jets game together. And we'll hand a mic around, and maybe we'll do the calls in person. We'll figure that kind of stuff out.
And it's your boy Bruce. That you'll be able to see both faces. So there you go. That answers your question.
So we're going to kill the whole Mikey is artificial intelligence on April 10th.
I'll show up with a big Daft Punk style helmet. That way nobody can see what I look like.
It got to keep the mirage going, eh?
That's right.
Lucas Trapp is asking for a watch party in Kitchener, and Lucas Trapp was pumped. I'll point this out. I'm kind of the guy that lets people know about different content and stuff. Mark Scheifele jumped on the Wealthy Barber podcast to talk a little Jets hockey and finance, and I found that pretty interesting today. If you're into that sort of thing, I know our friends at From Financial might be interested in giving that a listen.
What I missed that actually. How did it go?
It was like 13 minutes. It's a quick listen. I guess the host, I forget his name, ran into Scheif, and they've been kind of talking. So Scheif kind of went on to talk about how he's approached finance as an NHLer and how he tries to take the young guys under his wing in that regard. Really talked up about what he enjoys about playing in Winnipeg and what this town's meant to him. And I know the people in this market like to hear that kind of stuff. It's got Lucas Trapp wanting to hit the books and start reading. And that's something I've been trying to work into my days as well. So definitely a good listen if you're into a little bit of hockey and a little bit of finance talk.
Fuck yeah, let's check that out. That'll be good.
That will be another point on the playoff hockey. I like this from HH Living Local, and I thought this was another good example of it. I think the Washington game was a good example of it. I think the Buffalo game was a good example of it, despite the score in that one. The Jets are playing some real postseason ass hockey, defensively stingy as well, and that is where this team's cornerstone is in their system. When they're at their best, it is normally coming from strong defensive play that they turn into offense, and I thought that was all over this game tonight.
Yep, absolutely. They're really starting to lock in on that part of the game, which is kind of interesting to see that as we get closer to the playoffs, the attention to detail on the defensive side is really coming through. And I feel like they know where their strength lies, right? They know that they are a Connor Hellebuck and out team. And I think we're starting to see them really zone in on that. So I'm excited to see what that's going to look like come playoff time.
Absolutely. And as Ethan KPM says here, the key is going to be staying healthy. Can we? And it's going to start with, obviously, Pionk's going to make his way back. Velarde's hopefully going to make his way back.
Yep.
But this team is, once again, kind of like last year at this time. They seem to be rounding out their game at the right time. Let's see some Minnesota Wild, and I might have to go down and watch that whole series.
If we get the Wild in round
that.
one, the rivalry games on that will be a fucking blast. That will be so much fun, and we would absolutely wipe the floor with Mini. That would be a real nice soft round one if we can get it. So hopefully they keep crashing out. This is great.
Our friend Mo says I'm getting a President's Trophy tattoo, and I continue to say, like, I know in North America sports, the regular season title, our friend Mo. I know regular season titles aren't as celebrated as, I know, Mikey, you're big into soccer, right? And it's almost kind of evenly split how they're valued, right? You do really well in the regular season. That's a big honor. And then you go on to, I don't want to get this wrong, but like Champions League and the playoff type formats.
Yep.
I think I'm with our friend Mo on celebrating a President's Trophy with a tattoo potentially.
Man, for being the smallest market in the National Hockey League, if you can go on and win a President's Trophy, that's huge. That's an absolutely massive achievement. It shouldn't be where you give up, right? If you're winning a President's Trophy, that means you're a damn good team, so you should still have those Stanley Cup aspirations. But man, that is absolutely something to celebrate. I don't know if it makes a disappointment of an early playoff loss any less, right? I'd still be real fucking pissed and sad if they go out in round one, even with a President's Cup. So I don't feel like they're mutually exclusive, but it's something that should be, or they are mutually exclusive. I think it is something that should be celebrated, but it doesn't cover up for a bad playoff run.
Yeah, hey, we'll get there. In Ehlers we trust. Nice to see you in the chat as usual. MVP game by Helly. Ehlers was flying, and that he was. He's on another level, our boy. AI isn't just for computers. Coaching staff, clap, clap, clap. Number one, woot. And hard to disagree with the takeaways from In Ehlers We Trust today. A lot to be excited about. I saw on Twitch, actually, what do you think of this take from our boy Zooch40 about AI being the most valuable UFA for the Jets to re-sign? Now, I'm not quite there, but interesting takeaway. Let's talk about it.
I don't know if most valuable is the right term, but it's definitely a piece. There's tiers, right? There's always tiers to things. And if you just step off of that top tier of the really high-end skill guys, after that list, Alex Iafallo should be your first guy signed. In my opinion, you probably should, it's way ahead of Apples. I think we both agree on that one, no question. I honestly probably would have re-signed AI over Vlad first, to be honest. Even though Vlad got the deal first, I would have rather had AI. So, yeah, after you get off that first tier of the high-end free agents to sign this summer, AI is top of that second tier for sure.
Yeah, you get the Sandberg, Velarde, Ehlers stuff done if you can.
Yep.
And then AI is right there next for me. So I'm on the same wavelength you are here. Speaking of Vladdy, one play that stands out for me with Vladdy, on that PK, just playing keep away to kill down the clock.
Yep.
He was thinking in this one, and it was nice to see. Also really enjoyed seeing in-house. They showed, I think they played some kind of Swiss tune. I don't know for sure. I'm not very musically inclined out there.
Interesting.
But then they showed Nino on the ice, and then they showed his boys again.
Yes.
And
the traveling Ninos.
The traveling Ninos. Great to see stuff like that. I also heard the Antropov family was on the concourse today and at the game.
That's awesome.
So you like to see that kind of embrace going on at Canada Life Center. Again, it was just a great night at the barn. And I got to say, shout out to our boy, Kenny's water bottle. Don't forget to hit the like button, folks. Let's help spread the word about these guys. And hey, we love how many people have started to come to this show post game, seeing more and more new faces, getting to see different takeaways, and always seeing the credit around on who's sending us here. We appreciate the fact that you guys care about this and want to see us grow, because at the end of the day, what makes this show beautiful is giving you guys a voice as well and getting to share takes and have different opinions. So really appreciate that from Kenny's water bottle. Scott Westman, hey, we got to settle down here. AI could slot into a bigger role if 27 walks, and hey, that's I love AI, but that's not the replacement.
In small doses, not on a season long type of thing.
Gilbert Marion goes a great place in this one. How about the special teams differential? 1 for 1 on the power play, 0 for 3 on the PK. And I think this PK has really found something. I know we were talking 2 weeks ago how it felt like things were disjointed. There was 3 games in a row where that one PK unit would get stuck out there for 2 minutes.
Yep.
That is no longer. On the first PK of this game, they only get one real good seam look where it comes from the left side wall to the one-timer spot up at the right point. And Hellbuck makes that save. The second PK didn't feel all that dangerous. In fact, I thought the most dangerous opportunity came after the PK ended and they were kind of in scramble mode. And Dylan Sandberg comes up with a big slide to break things up. And then that last PK with 5 minutes to go and Connor Hellbuck on the verge of another shutout, they just killed the clock and nothing felt dangerous. These special teams has seemed to find their rhythm again. And that's huge going into the playoffs where, special teams could decide hockey games.
Yeah, they needed that, especially honestly on both sides of it, right? The penalty kill has finally found its feet, which is good. They really needed that, especially going into the playoffs. But as the power play has started to get a little bit stagnant, for the first time all season, the Jets were no longer in first place. They came into tonight second behind Vegas now. So it was, that's one of those things where we've kind of got to brag on that all year, right? That we've got the best and most dangerous power play, wire to wire. So it was a little annoying seeing it drop below there from that spot. So it's nice that they got one tonight, even on the power play. And yeah, the penalty kill has really come along now.
So we're gonna jump into the From Financial Faceoff, but I wanted to point out this. I like this analogy from In Ehlers We Trust. Bones cleaned the house, and we've talked about Bones' legacy. As frustrating as he got at the end of his time here, he leaves Winnipeg in a much better place systematically, room, vibes, all that.
Yep.
Our Neil and staff decorated the house. What do you think of that analogy?
That's interesting. I like that. Yeah. And when you've got a guy that was, the heir apparent during the last reign, and then getting to take over the way that they kind of telegraphed all the way through, that's a really good analogy. Like you said, there was a lot of things that, we can kind of poke at with the Bones run in terms of on ice. But what he did off the ice, changing the culture, changing the way that the team interacts and the way that they're viewed, can't be understated. So yeah, I like that. I like that analogy.
Okay, one more comment, then let's get into the From Financial, because Frosty got me here. Frosty Winnipeg, nice to see you in the chat. When I was in Milner Ridge, I told everyone to watch the show, but the internet was locked down. Still, they promised to watch it once they got out. Look for a jump in viewership in 2 years less a day. So we're going to get some nice numbers coming in the next 2 years less a day.
I'll toss a cell phone inside of a cake, Frosty. We'll get something in there. Don't you worry.
We'll get some streaming going, eh?
Yeah, that's right.
But it's our favorite time, the From Financial Face-Off segment, where we want to hear from you in the chat, or you could dial in. We're about to open up those phone lines when me and Mikey get through ours, and we want to know which detail in this game stood out to you as the difference maker for the Winnipeg Jets versus the New Jersey Devils on this night. Mikey, let's get the From Financial Face-Off.
Right on. So for my From Financial Face-Off, it's a guy that we've talked a lot about tonight. Mentioned him on the last show quite a bit as well. It's Alex Iafallo. It's AI. He was my face-off for tonight. just for the fact that we've seen him now play an offensive role on the top line. We've seen him play fourth line minutes. We've seen him play shutdown minutes. He's just able to fit on every spot. I said on the last show that I'm giving him the Mathieu Perreault Award for the Jets' most versatile player, and he's absolutely earned it. And tonight again, he's got that backhand goal to start off the game, less than a minute in. Gets another one on the power play later on. He's fit into Velarde's spot really well. He's not the same caliber player as Gabe Velarde, but in terms of style, they match very similarly. They like to do similar things. They both have fairly decent hands, right? So he's done a great job not looking at a place. And last game where he was the best player on that line when the other two guys were having an off night. So 2 games in a row, he's been great. So he's my face-off tonight.
So I'm gonna go, because it's something we've talked about for different stretches in this season. I'm going to go the From Financial Faceoff from Nik tonight is what a hot start can do for this team. We know they're so strong defensively. We know they have the best goaltender in the world, and they come out of the gates flying, score. Even if they get 1 goal in those first 2 minutes, you like to see that from this team. They get both, and they keep their foot on the gas. Let's go with a hot start is the From Financial Faceoff for me in this one. Let's open those phone lines and let's see what the chat has to say about the From Financial Faceoff on this night. I see Dante Violet says, the From Financial Faceoff. Sensible lines make such a difference. And I do feel a lot better about this middle 6 configuration going into the playoffs than the old reliable plan A. It does give me more optimism on the upside of this group.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tico Napoli with a good one here. From Financial Faceoff was a fragile Devils team, and the Jets jumped all over them, kind of playing into that hot start topic, right?
Yep.
The Devils' second half has been a bit of a disaster. We've seen Keith snap at former Winnipeg Jet Kovacevic for a post-game comment. Things do not seem well over in
the
with
Garden
the Devils.
State.
Yeah, in the Garden State. There we go. And the Jets jumped all over them. I liked that. Turd Ferguson says the From Financial Faceoff is the easier you make Helly's job, the more impossible you are going to be to eliminate them from a 7-game series.
Yep.
And I like that one paired with Choice's comment earlier, kind of highlighting how big that quadruple crown. Do we call it a quadruple crown for goalies? It's not the triple crown.
Yeah.
That's definitely a big aspect, especially when this team is dialed defensively, making that guy's job easier, which I thought tonight was another good example of. Zooch40 says, From Financial Faceoff is Helly with his 7th shutout. 7 shutouts. An MVP caliber season. If I'm not mistaken, Price had 44 wins in his year, right?
That's correct. Yep.
2 away from tying that. And I think the more you see Hellebuyck pile up the wins, and I think he's going to get 45, 46 at this point, it's going to play into the voters a lot better once you start having those undeniable accomplishments, especially being the best player on the team that's going to win the West here.
Yep. And because of the, again, we've had injuries to a lot of the other big name stars, a lot of the skaters, right? Nobody's had as dominant a season as past years. So, man, if you go back to December 23rd, we were talking about this. Said Connor Hellebuyck is going to have the season that he's having. If he keeps up that pace, he should win it, and I stand by it.
How about this stat from Zooch? Helly with as many shutouts as San Jose has road wins.
Oh, oh, that's painful.
It's I see Ethan says he will get it, and Gilbert Marion says Helly's stats are going to be so good they can't be ignored by the voters. And it just feels that way. How are you going to ignore this? We went from it's going to be Leon Draisaitl, and then now he's hurt, and Edmonton looks like a bit of a mess. Are we going to see maybe Edmonton in the first round?
No.
And I saw a clip today. I forget what podcast it was, talking about being stunned that Hellebuck's the runaway favorite right now as far as the Vegas odds. And immediately the comment was, Nate McKinnon's carrying Colorado and has 107 points. Plus, Makar is carrying Colorado to be the Norris. If they're both carrying Colorado, do you not see how that kind of plays against each other?
Carrying half of a team each. Great. Hellebuck's doing it. He's got one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like, come on.
Come
Oh,
on.
and Ethan's been listening outside the market here. No podcast disagrees with Hellebuck anymore. Morning Cuppa was talking it up. Dragger on the sheet.
Yep.
32 dummies. Hey, I like Friedman, man. I like Friedman. Let's be
Yeah,
careful.
well, hold on. Yeah.
I like my boy Freach. But it's getting to a point where it's going to be it has to be undeniable. If Carey Price, I'm sorry, Mikey, if Carey Price has one with that season and you pair up what this season looks like in comparison, he's beating those markers.
He's on pace to he's on pace to do it right now. So it'll be interesting. It'll be real interesting.
Scott Westman says the From Financial face-off is going to be Paulie getting shit-faced at Dallas on the 10th.
Yeah, that'll turn the tide.
In which Ticona Paulie says that's only 3 beers though, which hey, that's me these days, buddy. I feel that I'm definitely
In this
a
economy, that's
lightweight.
great.
In Ehlers We Trust says From Financial Face-Off is Arneal reconfiguring the lines because the system is so solid with players stepping up and everyone buying in. The depth allows us to send different lines in the playoffs against different teams. And yes, I mean the injury kind of forced it, but he switched it the game before, and it seems like he's sticking with it this time, and that's what you want to see. It's what I've wanted to see is the Ehlers Lowry thing, and my one vice when Velarde would get back is I really liked Iafallo with that group for the 4 games we saw it. But the Ehlers Lowry pair drives that pair. They've had great results now in 7 games together.
Yep.
And you see what I like about those two when you're watching them, especially in person. I see this a lot more. I've talked up the idea that when I've gone to more games in person, I've gotten a bigger appreciation for how good at supporting the puck Adam Lowry is. And you see Nick Ehlers really trust him to be there. And Adam Lowry's looking to get that puck back to Ehlers in space. And it really opens up when Nick Ehlers is so scary to defend against is when that guy gets moving, has space, and has that edge work. Incredible.
Absolutely.
Incredible.
He's playing like a man
and then
possessed.
I thought this was a tougher night for our boy Cole. I thought he was forcing pucks a little bit, and it only got him in trouble in one shift, really, where he sent one up the middle. Devils got a bit of a look, and then he sent an errant pass in the middle offensively, and it ended up the other way. But I do like the look that Perfetti and Nino gives. You see them really paired up and kind of playing the same wavelength of a game. They were just close on missing some odd man rush chances where the Devils made the hero plays to kind of cut that off.
Yep.
I think there's going to be something there.
Yep, absolutely. They play at the same speed, which is nice. They really get each other, and they see the game at a very similar speed. So it's a nice pairing that's working out, and yeah, it'll hope. I'm worried, man. I'm worried we're gonna go right back to the old lines.
We'll see. We'll see where this is going. I think you're seeing, given some of that down we saw and the fact that they made the switch before the injury and stuck with an injury, I have some confidence here. I think Ehlers Lowry's the key. And I think the fact that Perfetti's taken this jump, and Matty Wynn says the From Financial Faceoff for him tonight is going to give some flowers to Perfetti. Even though he didn't get on the board tonight, he still continues to play a good game. Got robbed by Allen on that one chance, and that was a beautiful save from Allen, who I thought really struggled early on in this game and had a quality third. But with this emergence of Cole Perfetti's game taking another step, and with Nino's history of being that guy, it gives you what could be a much more grounded middle six should that top line struggle in some of these matchups. And I just think it gives them more options to create offense while having quality groups out there than the former one.
Interesting. This is the second game now in a row where the middle six played almost identical minutes at 5-on-5.
As they should.
All right, you ready for a call?
Let's go to the phone lines.
Hey, caller. Thanks for holding. You're on the landing strip.
Hello, everybody. It's Brandon again.
Brandon.
About the hard conversation.
Yep.
The last from 2019 to 2023 or whatever, everyone was like, "Oh, all you guys have is Hellebuyck." Blah 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 blah. He leads it everything. Fucking. I'm sorry for swearing. He's kept up his pace all year. Maybe he keeps fluctuating over 1 and 2 or 2 and 199 and whatever, but that's still better than everybody. Everyone else was at 3 most of the year.
Yep.
Everyone else doesn't say sorry about their best players, so why should we? And, like, he's literally having, like, the best year since, like, Carey Price, and probably best Zelensky in, like, 2019 or whatever the fuck it was. But, like, nobody should argue about how good he is. Like, that's ridiculous. Also, I want to see Fetz with Lowry and Ehlers. I think that line would be fun.
Hey, Brandon, thanks for the call. Mikey, what do you think there? With what
Awesome.
Brandon
I
had to
agree.
say?
I don't think we should apologize for Connor Hellebuck being our best player.
Never.
I think those
Never.
days are over. I think it's time to just accept it and fucking flaunt it. And on the Lowry thing with Perfetti and Ehlers, that's an interesting one. I kind of gravitate back and forth. On one hand, I'd like to see him with the better setter on that line. I think he would work real well in that spot. But I do like the budding connection that he has growing with Nino Niederreiter, and I like that it kind of spreads out the middle six a little bit more evenly. So it's I'm back and forth on where to put Perfetti, to be honest.
I like this current setup. I really do. I just think it offers more throughout the lineup than if you because my big problem with the other setup is if the top line plays a 50-50 game, you know Lowry's going to be used as he should be as like that shutdown center in the playoffs. And if it's with Nino and Appleton, you're playing a 0-0 hockey game hoping not to lose 1-0. And it just puts so much stress on the rest of the roster. With Cole Perfetti's emergence, I think you get more having Ehlers and Lowry run a line and Perfetti and Nino run a line. And you give yourself more options to produce offensively and still not have to worry about what happens if your two main lines just don't get it done at 5-on-5.
Yeah, absolutely. Just honest, it's really because Perfetti and Nino have found that connection, are now getting a chance to really push on that other line, that it gives you that chance to spread it out. So yeah, I don't hate the current setup. Again, is it more minutes for Mason Appleton than I would probably like to see? Yeah, absolutely. But maybe once Velarde comes back, you're willing to play Iafallo on that top line, but he's not good enough to replace Mason Appleton on the third line and has to play fourth line. It's a weird role that they kind of have between Apples and Lowry stapled together like that. I kind of don't really get it, but it is what it is.
Here's an interesting comp from Ethan KPM here. Am I crazy? I want him to be Suzuki, and this is, I believe, in reference to Cole Perfetti. And I know you're a Habs guy. I know you're a big Perfetti guy. What do you think of the idea of him becoming some variation of Nick Suzuki if he were to get to play center next year, like we kind of talked about last show? What do you think of that comp?
I think you just hit it on the head right there. If we get to see him move to center in the off season, that is exactly the comp that you should be looking at. You've got similar type of size. You got similar style in terms of where they're looking for play and goals now, right? So yeah, that's if you can get, I really want to see Perfetti get an opportunity at center in the offseason. I think with the new, Cole Prickfetti quote unquote thing, just the way his game has evolved, I think you can put him back at center and really get more out of him that way, even more so than on the wing. So that's a great comp. Absolutely.
Formerly joins the chat. Hey, formerly, nice to see you as well. Got another email on the old top line email line I wanted to get to before we leave. Appreciate Mike Friesen taking the time. He sent in quite a bit of stuff here, and I want to get to two thoughts here from him, and I want to get your takes here, Mikey. You're not going to hear it from me very much, but that Buffalo game was a crying out for Neil Pionk, and I think there's some validity to that as far as the puck movement and offensive side goes. But this is the one I found really interesting from him, from a higher level conversation as we near the playoffs. I've had an analogy in my head for the Jets losing steam toward the end of the year and the playoffs the last couple of years. I don't think it applies as much this year, especially what we're seeing here, right? Yep. Maybe at all, but you can decide if it fits. In beer league, there's that team that's run real well, always have a full bench. No drunk rent-a-goalie. The forwards back check. They finish high in the standings because they get wins versus young buck teams that show up with 8 skaters on a Friday night. Then come beer league playoffs. All the teams have everybody showing up and everybody's trying. The team that ruled the regular season bows out early because they're at their top gear all along. Worth looking at the Jets these last few years and seeing how well this analogy fits. What do you think of that?
So on the Pionk's part of it, I can kind of see where he's getting at, right, in terms of being able to move the puck out of their own zone, which we can talk about. And once Pionk comes back, where he's going to fit in, hopefully that's going to be on a third pairing, not so much on a second pairing. Limit those minutes a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
For the Jets losing steam going into the playoffs, it's interesting. It's not maybe quite the route I would go down with it, just because one, with the regular season in the NHL, it's a little bit different, right? Nobody in the NHL is fielding a reduced roster because guys just aren't showing up that night. You know what I mean? Outside of injuries and things like that, you're getting every guy out there for those NHL teams every night. So I don't think it's so much so that they lose steam come playoffs. I just think it's the lack of experience playing in those high intensity playoff games and the lack of the high end skill that they had compared to those teams that they were playing. And when you don't have as locked in a system like they do this year, those differences in skill really come through. It really shows. And I think that's kind of what happened to the Jets. They were able to get through the regular season last year and have a great year and finish with 8 straight, but they were exposed against Colorado and it really showed. This year, it just, the system feels different. So, it's, who knows if the result's going to be different this time around, but that's kind of where I'm with it on that. I don't feel like they've lost steam going into the playoffs. I feel like they were just outclassed.
I like the analogy, I gotta say. And I wouldn't necessarily look at it as like teams don't have enough numbers and stuff like that. More so that I think it's really interesting that he points out here, like, I've been in some beer leagues where I've seen this happen, and the Jets have been very well run throughout the regular seasons. This has been a team that's consistently in the playoffs, and I can't buy the whole experience narrative. I'm having a hard time with buying the idea that this team just needed to learn from the playoff losses and it's going to be better this time, because I do think that lack of talent aspect has played in, and I think that's been the higher vocal point. And I think that plays into what Mike's saying here, where you go to a beer league game at 11:50 on a Thursday, Friday night, and some of the best players aren't going to be showing up or aren't at their best. Like, who cares until the playoffs come and all of a sudden that competitive edge comes back and everyone's kind of fully tilt. I really do find that analogy really interesting for the history of the Winnipeg Jets. And I do find it something that we could be thinking on depending on how this race goes. I want the chat and you to kind of keep thoughts on this as we get deeper into the season, as the playoffs go, because I think Mike did a really good job bringing that down to a normie level with that comp.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gilbert has a question for you. So Mikey likes Shen right-hand D2 over Pionk. Not sure about that, and I'm no Pionk fan. Where are you at with that?
Ooh, so the earlier games on Shen were definitely a lot better. We saw a little bit of an exposure on the foot speed, especially lately. I still think I like the look of Samberg and Shen together on that pairing a little bit more than Samberg-Pionk. One, for the fact that you can limit Pionk's minutes a little bit better on the third pair. You can really shelter him, right? You can give him all offensive starts like they were doing with Stanley. You can play him on the power play. You can use him where he's most effective and limit the chaos that can come with the defensive side of things. And also, it still allows Dylan Samberg then on that second pairing to stay in an offensive role, which I would much prefer, as opposed to when they put him with Pionk and we lose that side of his game while he's covering for Pionk while Pionk is chasing the offense, right? So, I think I would still like to see Shen with Samberg. We'll see how it goes between now and when Pionk is actually back, right? If things go off the rails, different story, but the way it's looking right now, I think I still want to keep Shen with Samberg to leave Samberg in that more offensive role, and to then also shelter Pionk a little bit and limit the chaos.
Yeah, I think you're looking at two different downsides, and that's what's interesting, and that's where I do think there's a bit of a talent deficiency. I think obviously Pionk brings a bit more offense, brings a bit more puck movement, though Shen's been probably better at moving the puck than any of us really expected.
Yep.
The downside with Shen is the lack of foot speed could really hurt, and this could be a matchup defended type thing and how you want to approach this.
Yep.
You get a bit of a different defensive look. You're probably feeding Sandberg Shen more defensive starts than you would a Pionk Sandberg. Really depends on how you're going to in-game manage those for me. I think I don't know. It's kind of tough. It depends what you want to do. I'm undecided. Let's put it that way right now. I'm undecided.
Yeah,
But Gilbert does nail it here, saying Pionk will be put back as soon as he's healthy, and I do think that. And Sandberg's done a real good job of cleaning up his mistakes. I just think my big thing I always come back to with Pionk is he's the guy other teams are going to pre-scout and really want to force on forechecks and really want to go to that corner. And yeah, I don't know. I think being able to shelter him might be a benefit, though being able to shelter Shen's foot speed might be a thing. It might depend on who you're playing here.
Yeah, matchup dependent. So we've talked about it on one of the other shows. The coaching battle is going to be real interesting, right? That game within the game is going to be really important because you should be looking at it matchup dependent. It should be, and on like the bench gets short in the playoffs, right? A lot of times you end up, only rolling a couple of the pairs. You may end up with a 5-man rotation. Like there may be 6 guys sitting on the bench, but you may have 5 of them really be the ones actually kind of rolling through, and you may see different looks depending on when you're at home versus when you're on the road, right? Trying to fix those matchups. So it should be matchup dependent. It'll be interesting to see which way they take it. I will say though, to Choices who says there's no way that Arniel doesn't put Pionk back with Sandberg. I don't think Pionk has the same cachet that Scheifele and those guys have to demand where they play. And I think a guy like Shen, who's coming in with a lot of pedigree as a veteran and is going to be here guaranteed next season, I don't think it's as automatic as it was in other situations where for sure he's going to automatically slide back into that second pairing. If Arniel likes the way that it's looking right now with the way the pairings are, I can see Pionk playing on a third pairing. I think it's possible.
Tico Napoli says, yeah, Villy probably pairs best with Shen on the third pair, but too late to get Villy going. And he sees it the same way I did. I would have loved to see that runway early in the year, but this season is toast. Ethan KPM also does point out, and this is something I kind of, when I was doing that thread before the deadline on Twitter, talking about how the Jets have done a really good job of getting the most out of guys. Those guys get paid and they look like some of the worst contracts. I agree with Ethan KPM's take here that the Jets do make players look better, and I do think that'll play into this as well. Ethan does say Pionk in the playoffs will be animalistic, drop him down, and he is my concern. But it's one of those things you might just play on it depending on who you're playing. Like against a team like Colorado and based on the foot speed, I think Shen would have more trouble there than Pionk would.
Yep.
If you're playing a team like
Dallas,
Calgary, if they got it in Dallas, maybe you prefer a Shen.
Yep.
It could be up like that.
Yep, absolutely.
I appreciate that, Ethan, saying your thread was amazing. Sometimes I get some good ideas to dive into. Sometimes. Turd Ferguson with the vibes here says, as for playoffs, this year feels different simply because I haven't once seen anyone on that team look satisfied after any game, performance, morning skate, etc. All business. What do you think of Turd Ferguson's point there?
Yeah, I'd say I'd pretty much agree with that overall. I can't think of too many instances where I've wanted to strangle somebody for saying, we really liked our game tonight after they shit all over themselves. So I kind of agree. It does. We've talked about it all year, man. This year does feel different. It feels like a special season. I can't quite put my finger on what it is outside of all of the records and the history books, things like that. It feels like a different group with a different motivation. I'm excited for a long playoff run, and I hope they have it in them.
It is definitely something I've noticed as well. I spend too much time on this, watching pretty much every interview and stuff like that. I think that's what we got to do to inform some of our conversations. And you really have seen that mentality from this team in the downs and in the ups. And one thing that used to bother me a little bit, given like the lack of playoff success in Winnipeg, was this core would get really high on themselves during the highs. And then if you question them on the downs, it was like, oh, what the hell is going on? I feel like you have seen a level keel mentality from this group talking about, we hear our Neil talk about, like, we haven't accomplished nothing at this point. Like, it's great where we are in the standings, but the next day matters. Winning this division matters. Then bringing it into the playoffs matters. You're seeing a guy like Kyle Connor today was asked about this kind of thing, and I really liked his answer there. So I do see what Turd's seeing here, and I do think that is something that does matter, because we have seen in the past where I think they've enjoyed their own headlines a little bit too much. And then when you get spanked a few too many times when you're enjoying those headlines, it's got to bring you back down a peg. And I really like that comment from Turd on this topic.
Yeah, if Coach Bones has any legacy whatsoever here in Winnipeg, it's just changing around the entire feeling that the Jets have. He changed that culture. He changed that attitude. And Matty Wins nails it. Humbled and focused. That is exactly the vibe that they're putting out now. And I think a big chunk of that comes starting in the Bones era and has been carried over.
I guess T Kona is playing some Friday night bingo while watching the show. 069 is his favorite bingo call. Nice. Friday night after dark is in T Kona Paulie's thoughts tonight. I want to take a second to appreciate this. Ethan KPM talking about the last time the Jets matter, only diehards cared. There was no forum. I like that. Unlike 5 years ago, I have a community now, and we're glad that you have this community. He says he had the same feeling in 2018 as he does right now, and he gets to express it and share it here.
Hell
so
yeah.
we're glad to have Ethan sharing that. And that's what I've loved the most, honestly, about this show is getting to talk with different people, hear different stories, hear different opinions, and get to bounce those ideas and get deep into those combos. Even if we disagree, the fact that we all get to be here after each game is truly an honor that I get to spend all season talking with fellow Jets fans in a community that cares. You guys are the best, and I want to take this time again to thank you, because you guys help make this show what it is. So be a friend, tell a friend, like, subscribe, send it around. Let's get into our 3 stars, and let's get into our Friday nights.
That's it. Right on.
Mikey, who do you want to go to for the 3 stars in this one?
Started off the show by talking about him. I'll end the show by talking about him. Number 3, Gus Bus. Everybody hop on board, man. It's a good feeling. It's a good story. It's a guy that every time he gets into the lineup, he produces, he excels. It's really nice to see. So giving him my 3rd star tonight, hopping on the Gus Bus. 2nd star, only 1 point tonight, but I feel like he was just all over the ice. Multiple games now in a row. Nick Ehlers, man, this guy is playing possessed right now. He wants to win. He knows that he's got a contract coming up. He is just showing out. And I love that he's finally getting the recognition, because he's been this guy. He has been this player his whole time here. He does it more with less. He's absolutely incredible. They better get his ass signed. So Nick Ehlers, 2nd star. And number 1 star, it's the guy who was my From Financial Faceoff. So how can he not be the number 1 star for me? It's AI. We're talking about practice. It's Alex Iafallo. Another 2 goals tonight. That backhand goal to start off was fun. He's fit real nicely into Gabe Velarde's place on that top line. He's keeping the machine moving while we wait for Velarde to get healthy. So, giving it to Mr. Versatile, Alex Iafallo.
I wanted to go to one last comment from Choices TK to tie a bow on that mentality conversation before I dive into mine. And I'm going to share some of the ones on the YouTube chat. Nice to see different answers. Choices TK says, prior years, a desperate team would step up the intensity, and this team had no answer, and it had a way of leading to desperation and feeding on itself for multiple games. And we haven't seen that creep into this team's game. We've seen them answer those calls a lot more than years past, and I think that's another thing in this whole mentality and feeling better about the Jets come playoffs. I think that's a great point to kind of put a bow on it. T. Kona Paulie also says, and get your asses to the watch party. Let's make sure we fill Dallas and have a night together.
Hell yeah.
Gilbert Marion goes, Alex Iafallo, first star, Morrissey second, Helly third, and another great game from Josh Morrissey where we did not give him the flowers he deserves. It's just so expected from him at this point. He was jumping in and stopping plays and carrying it the other way. Defensively sound as usual. He's that cornerstone D-man. Great picks from Gilbert there. T. Kona goes AI, Stan, and Helly. Another fine game from the third pair of Miller and Stan. Got to give them some love as well.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go an honorable mention to Connor Hellbuck, who's going to just miss my 3 stars. Obviously, 7th shutout, 42 wins, the heart of Buck. But I felt the team defensively did their job in front of him. And, hey, I'm hard on this group, but I want to give them their flowers when they're good. And Gilbert's right. He says Morrissey's a superstar. He is this team's best skater, and I don't think it's close. I'm going to go 3rd star. New dad, Kyle Connor.
Hell yeah.
With a couple assists in his first game of fatherhood.
Setting
I'm
career
going
high
to go.
with assists.
There you go. Didn't even mention that. Brendan Matheson points out on our way out, the PK stepped up tonight as well, and they definitely did. 2nd star for me. I talked about feeling this was his first game back in a while at the beginning of this show. I'm going to go Mark Scheifele. I felt he was using that big body to drive through plays. He was more engaged in this one than some of the previous ones. He had his playmaking and elite puck movement going in this one. Mark Scheifele is going to be my number 2. And we might as well round out that line. Alex Iafallo. 2 bingos, Johnny on the spot, 1 on the PP, 1 at 5-on-5. Continues to play his simple game, get to the tough areas, and he's rewarded with 2 on this night. I got to give Alex Iafallo the love for the number 1 star.
Yeah.
On the way out, let's keep reading some of the chat as it's going here. Formerly says, super hard to count out Helly and 3 stars, but there were a lot of players that were stars tonight, and I think that's why you're seeing such different takes in the chat. This is one of those games where you could be happy with tons of the Jets performers on this night.
Absolutely.
Matty Wins has Iafallo, Helly, and Scheif. Frosty Winnipeg says, fans were in it tonight. Honorable mention. And that building's gearing up for a run. I'm excited to see where this is going. 2 games in a row. The vibes were all in on this one. Gilbert also points out it was also his 30th birthday tonight. So happy birthday. That's Kyle Connor, I guess?
I guess so.
All right. Let's move on with our weekends. I want you all to make sure you have a great weekend. We'll be back early Sunday. It's a 2:00 game where Scott Westman in the chat will be taking up my seats for that one. I hope he enjoys it. And we'll be back to dive into the Winnipeg Jets Sunday after the Vancouver Canucks.
Right on. Y'all know the drill. Tell 2 friends to tell 2 friends. Rate, review, and remember the landing strip for your Winnipeg Jets post game.
So